NikkieTutorials. Oh, Nick, hoe weet je dat is mijn kleur? Oh, echt heel mooi. Vla.
Hello guys, it's me, Nikki. Hello. Whew. Okay.
This video was filmed a day before the launch of my palette. And then my hard drive said, bye bitch.
So forgive me if some things sound dated.
The palette launched. I mean, I'm assuming that there's still palettes in stock, but just for some odd magical reason, we are sold out, which is, that's never gonna happen. I still really wanna address one thing about the availability of this palette, because a lot of you guys were worried to miss out. So here we go. When creating this palette with Beauty Bay, I told them right off the bat that I always wanna be super open and honest with you about the quantities, about actually selling out or not. That's why we introduced the 3 rewards for the early buyers. And I wanted to share a couple more details about our contract, okay? We're gonna share some secrets today. The deal Beauty Bay and I agreed on is that we would order 1 limited edition order of the palette. One part of the order just went online, so that's the first part of the order that is now available. And the remainder, second part of that order will arrive in a couple of weeks. After that second part of the first order is gone, the palette is gone. After this, I have nothing planned, no new order, no new batch, no new collection. I mean, your response so far has been overwhelming. And for that, all I can do is thank you. I want to thank you for the amazing response. The majority of people seem to love the palette and seem to love the colors that I chose for this story. You can still join the waitlist and get notified first when the second part of the order goes up in a couple of weeks. But for today, okay, today, we are playing with the palette finally. Of course, I did my reveal video and I spoke about most of the shades. I gave swatches for all the shades and kind of told you what's behind the names, but there's so much more to be told about this palette. I'm gonna clear up a couple of misconceptions about this palette. I'm gonna clear up a couple of questions. So today I'm responding to the response of the NikkieTutorials and Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette. So let's go. All right, so for today, what I always do when I'm reviewing a product, and I'm not necessarily reviewing my own palette today, but what I always do is show you 2 sides to a palette. So today I'm also doing 2 different eyes so I can show you as many possibilities as possible. Let's start off with something crazy, something bright, something fun. My baby. All right, so I already primed because not to prime is a what? A crime, thank you. What are we in the mood for today? The first color I'm gonna go in with is Amsterdam. Picking up that shade and popping it onto the outer corner of my eye. This is one of my favorite shades of the entire palette. Oh, and we're literally just stamping the brush onto our primed eye to get the most pigmentation. Now these are pressed pigments, so you wanna be very delicate with them. Just gently place them on the eye and get that magic going. And I'm also gonna take that color and very softly start dragging it out. I want a nice pulled up, extreme colorful eye. And I know I mentioned it already in the reveal video, but Plot Twist is the perfect blending companion to Amsterdam. So I'm gonna pick that up on a fluffy brush and just fade out the edges even more. All right, I wanna respond to one of the main things I've been seeing online. A lot of people have been saying, well, there's a bright side to the palette and there's a dark side to the palette. But once Nikki opened up the palette, there was a dark side, but there weren't necessarily a lot of dark colors on the dark side as opposed to the bright side. And I can completely explain why. So for the packaging, I just wanted to create something that stood for me. When I look at me as a person up front, I look really bright and bubbly and positive. That's my bright side. But as we know now, I have had a very dark youth. I've had some pretty traumatic things happening in my life. You know, I've always had this weird obsession with horror movies. When I was a kid, I would actually, oh, this is gonna freak people out. I shouldn't say this. When I was younger, I would actually fall asleep to horror movies. That's how crazy and twisted my mind can sometimes be. And I really wanted my palette to scream that, to embody that and show people like a different side to me. Basically, the packaging is me and my crazy double-sided world. That's what it embodies, and the shadows are just shadows that represent me and what I love in makeup and what I truly believe in. All right, so as promised, Plot Twist blended out Amsterdam like an absolute dream, and this is a great first step for this eye. On the inner portion, like on the front of my brow, and sort of like this portion right here, I am gonna pop a little bit of Blend and Snap. And speaking of creating this palette, oh yes, I love this. It's kind of reminding me of the promotion images we shot for this campaign. Taking a fluffy brush and just stamping it onto the front of the brow, giving it this vibe here. I wanna take you to the early stages of this palette creation, and a lot of people have been asking me, like, how did you create an eyeshadow palette during a pandemic? We started our early talks and planning before the virus hit and before we went into this pandemic. So the Beauty Bay team and myself have had one in real life meeting in Amsterdam in an office. We locked ourselves up for hours, and in that one day we came up with the general vision, the general idea, and we started picking out shades and colors that really called out my name. And once we found certain like perfect shades, we also already started naming them. So on that first day, we did a lot of work. All right, so we're at meeting number 1, and this is so surreal to be sitting here with such an incredible team and to just look at a mood and look at a vibe and look at what I feel like is my home. Right now, I have some colors in front of me that are just screaming, I feel my name. And what I said to the team was, I want this to be a very happy palette, but as soon as you like take a closer look, you see that there's so much more to it. So on first sight, you're like, oh my God, this is happy, like bubblegum princess, everything cute. But then there's layers to it, and there's a story. So we talked about the artwork, we talked about packaging, and I cannot wait to see that sort of like grow into its own form. So right now, this is the vibe we're kind of playing with. And I feel like this screams my name. Like this screams colorful, glam. So this is sort of the shades we're working with here. And then from this, the labs are gonna make samples for me to play with and fully test out. And then colors that we don't like, we like take out, and then we can like pop another one in. Like, this is insane. And this is how the palette is gonna come to life. Now I'm gonna dip into a bit of Zomer, which is Dutch for summer. And that is going right here next to Blend and Snap, blending into pretty much the brow bone. We're gonna make this one explosion of color and love for makeup. I'm gonna take a little bit more of Plot Twist and pop it right on the center of where Zomer and Amsterdam would meet. So right here, I'm gonna pop a little bit more on. Basically, from that day, we had a general vision of what we wanted, and then everything from that day was done by post and a lot of FaceTime calls. So samples were sent through post, and in this very studio, I tried all the colors myself. I put it on my eyes, I put it on my face, I even tested Dylan every now and then. And after playing with the samples, I would give my notes, bring them back to Beauty Bay, and they would work on the formula to perfect it even more. And we just kept doing that, and we kept going back and forth until we had the perfect 20 shades that embody my world. My favorite side of the palette is the dark side because there's so much detail in it. It has the tombstone that says goodbye to makeup shamers, and it has the little middle finger in front of it. And it's like so crazy to see people on like Instagram stories or even YouTube videos hold this in their hands. It is, I've been saying it on my stories constantly, but it's the most surreal feeling to see people with their hands touching this, swatching this, and being like, I love this. It's the most surreal thing ever. Okay, now I'm gonna dive into my favorite shade of the entire palette, Pride. So Pride is best applied with fingers first. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit and just, excuse me. And I'm just gonna dip this onto the lid and then kind of stamp it upwards as well. Oh my God, this color! And then from there, you can pick up a little bit with a brush and kind of spread it nicely all over and reach all the corners when you have long ass nails like I do. This color, I can stare at it for days. Oh, it's so good. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of Amsterdam again and kind of blend that into Pride to make it nice and seamless. I said this side was gonna be colorful, so now I'm dipping into Redemption, and this is going, fear not, on the inner corner, honey. This orange on the inner corner is such a vibe. Such a vibe. I love it. Look at that. That's a party to me. On the lower lash line, I'm now going in with Slasher. Now you know that Slasher is named after all the horror movies that I used to love and still do. So I want to make sure that I blend this into Amsterdam right here at that corner. Oh my God. Okay, so I just stamped a bit of Amsterdam on top of Slasher. Oh, am I just creating new shades with the already existing shades or what? All right, taking some more Amsterdam and continuing underneath. All right, this eye is, it's giving me all the makeup loving vibes. Okay, I'm gonna pop a lash on and I'm right back. Now, a lot of people were like, girl, how did you even come up with all of these shades? And Beauty Bay gave me total freedom. They were like, this is gonna be your palette. You get to decide what you want in here. I want my pops of colors. I want enough mattes to build structure, but I also want those funky, magical duochromes. I want those bright, bright, shimmering, almost metallic shades. I want glam on the next level in my palette. Mikai was actually the first color we agreed upon, and it only took 2 samples to get right, and it felt like it was the easiest, most relaxing color to work on. Beauty Bay asked me what color needed to be in this first, and the first color done and signed off is this one right here, the bright red. I want the bright red to be the heart of the palette because this is for my little brother, Mikai. I really wanted to include my mom's favorite color in here, so that is Mama Tutorials. She's always talking about this like baby blue sea shimmering color, and when creating this palette, I told her I was like working on this thing and I didn't tell her too much. At a certain point, I was like, hey mom, you know, I'm working on this palette, and she's like, oh my God, you have trust again. And up until this moment, she didn't know that I included her favorite moment, and one of my favorite things is she started on the top left, Redemption, and then she went down and she looked at all the names, and then she started crying when she saw Mikai, and then she saw all these names, and then at the very bottom on the center, there's Mama Tutorials, and she goes,
Oh. Mama Tutorials. Oh, Nick. Hoe weet je, dat is mijn kleur. Oh, echt heel mooi. Vla.
I'm really proud to say that pretty much every shade in this palette has a story. Plot twist. The reason why it's called Plot Twist, it's so funny, I told this in my coming out video. My mom was convinced that she was pregnant with a girl, and then when I came out, it was like, plot twist. And then a couple of years later, it was like, plot twist, you're right. Dylan! Dylan?
Ja,
Ja, mag ik je oog even lenen?
kijk er maar aan.
Hi. So, Mr. Tutorials was actually inspired by Dylan's
Eye color.
eye color. Show him.
Oh.
Okay, so.
Hold on.
Ew. Oh, don't. Ew. Dylan's eyes are like this magical, hazily, greeny, browny mixture of a magic. I'll tell you that Mr. Tutorials was one of the hardest shades to make, because every time I got a new sample and I was like, no, it's too green, and then I got a new sample and I was like, no, it's too brown.
Oh.
What do you want me to do?
You want to switch?
On your cheek?
I know.
Yes, pigment. Oh, look
That
at
look
that. Do you think it looks like your eye?
This is my eye.
That is your eye. Yep. Good boy. That's it. You can go now. Bye. Oh, now that I have you here, young lady. Hi, my sweet little princess. Oh my God. This is Ivy, and that is the beauty. That is the shimmering white in the palette. Mila in the palette is named after my other sweet baby, my other dog. Hi, honey. Oh, look at her. Say hi, honey. Oh, she's so sleepy. She's like, why am I in this bright ass room? Take me out of here, you peasants. See, it's the color of her fur. Boots with the fur. The whole club is looking at her. Hey, she hit the flow. Hey, next thing you know, she's got pee and poo on the flow, you know. Now let's move on to this eye right here. We have an explosion of makeup love right here. And on this side, I wanna make it more on the earthy tones, because a lot of people are like, girl, this palette ain't wearable. And I'm like, so I'm gonna show you a very, in Nikkie terms, wearable look. All right, I've already Optimus primed, and the first color, because she just graced us with her presence, I'm going in with is Mila, and I'm pushing Mila right into the crease, and we're gonna go all the way in, so from outer to inner corner, just stamping that color on. Oh, and Mila is also, I mean, every shade in this palette is my favorite except for Ale. By the way, speaking of Ale, I love how most of the comments were like, leave it up to Nikkie to put a green shade in the palette, but making it lean towards teal the most she could. It may look like that on camera, but in real life, I can see the difference. Like on screen, I see that it looks like a teal, but in real life, it is a bright ass green. All right, and now to fully make that blend perfection, I'm taking Basic Truth. I think the #1 thing I heard from Dutch people finding out about this palette is Basic Truth is my new nickname. I'm just gonna fade out the edges even more. Now I'm quickly gonna cut the lid and then set it with Basic Truth as well. Okay, now that that is perfectly cut and nice and matte, I'm taking 5 AM and I'm gonna start putting this on the outer corner here, stamping it on. Also popping a bit of Mila right between the two to get a nice fade going. Oh yeah, see that gradient coming? Okay, dipping back into 5 AM, and I really wanna create this lifted up eye effect. So I'm just popping 5 AM to about 1/3 of the way in of my lower lash line, and then softly adding a hint of Mila to continue, but not too far in. And then taking Basic Truth and just setting that entire under eye area. Okay, all that's missing now before we move on to lashes is this beautiful all matte earthy toned eye. Needs a pop of metallic ivy. See, oh my God, all the matte and then that pop of shimmer on the inner corner. I live. All right, let me pop a lash on and I'll be right back. And that, guys, is a very colorful and smoky look I would do using my palette, and a very sculpted, earthy toned version I would do with my palette. Guys, I can't thank you enough for the support and love you've given this palette so far. I know, and I am very aware that every single eyeshadow has been done in the past. I know that every single palette has been done in the past. Hence why I'm not claiming anywhere that this is revolutionary or the most unique, rare palette out there. No. But this is my palette, and in here are the colors where I feel creatively tickled to try new things out, where I feel confident in the formula and the finish. Now again, the NikkieTutorials and Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette retails for $30. I am so proud of that price. I truly feel like we're giving you the best formula at the most affordable price, and I'm just really proud of that price point, and I know a lot of you were really happy with that as well. I know that the second part of the first order is on its way, and it'll be here very soon, so if you want updates, make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the social medias, as well as Beauty Bay so you don't miss any updates. And of course, make sure you join the wait list so you get an email once the palette is back in stock. All right, I want to thank you so much for watching this video today. Thank you so much for supporting me, for wanting to support me, for believing in me and giving me this opportunity, and most of all, this chance. Without you guys, I would be nowhere. So thank you so much. I love you so much. And hopefully I will see you guys in a couple of days. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.